Welcome back to the Out of the Rough podcast. My name is Nate. Joining me as always is my co-host Jake. Jake, how are we doing today?
Nate, we're doing pretty good. I hit my third DP World Tour winner of the season already, so that
Three of
is, I
seven,
mean,
so
yeah,
one
no
more, you're at
complaints
the
on that tour.
500% mark.
Yeah, I mean, for the DP World Tour, I usually am happy with that an entire season. So
Oh yeah,
you need one more outright to be profitable in the season, and we've got a long road ahead. So definitely happy there. Patrick Reed, got up pretty early to watch him on Sunday. Was definitely shaky, was playing very, very safe. David Puig looked like he didn't have it. Then he was pin seeking the whole day. And I was like, oh, here we go. It was a two-stroke lead going into the back nine. He started to collapse David Puig. Reed kept steady Eddie, just playing his game. And you know what? It ended up working out playing safe because he ended up getting the win. I believe he's extremely motivated because he's trying to be qualified for the Ryder Cup, I think that they were talking about. He's pretty close in the official world golf ranking now. He's climbing himself all the way up now with these wins on the DP World Tour. And we'll see him again this week in Bahrain. But going to the PGA Tour, I had Siwoo Kim, who just absolutely, after the first six holes, I was like, okay, maybe like he's got a shot. And then he absolutely imploded. And then by the time he imploded, Nate, you had Andrew Putnam, I believe, at like 700 to 1 or something crazy where he was going neck and neck. He was a hole ahead of Scotty. And then, as we about all could expect, Scotty just pulled
no,
away and
yeah,
won by about a touchdown. So, you know, what are we going to do? Thank God he's not in the field this week. So it seems like we've got a shot.
yeah. Andrew Putnam 750 to 1 had a share of the lead on the back nine on a Sunday. So if there was like a consolation prize, maybe I could get that, but nothing to cash here. Scotty Scheffler just lapped the field once he started going, and there's this saying about if Scotty Scheffler's putting really good, he's gonna win events by 8, 9, 10 shots. If he's putting okay, he's still gonna win, and if he puts bad, he's just gonna win. It's gonna be more challenging. So there's it's inevitable at this point. He made himself into a top like 25 putter in the world in doing so, and he's only getting started too. Like that's the scary thing, right? This isn't like I think we're not even at prime Scotty yet.
Yeah, what was crazy was I saw a tweet that was like his furthest made birdie was like maybe 11 feet. Like his ball striking was on a
This
whole
is
other
that
level
good.
where he had multiple birdie putts within 5 feet. Like that's just unheard of. So, I mean, good on him. It's definitely going to be a scary sight for the season to come because this was a tournament that we both pinned and a lot of people
Oh
pinned.
yeah.
This is not a place that Scotty's going to play well, and he hasn't in his career, and he shut us all right up.
It's like when he does make a mistake. I forget which hole it was in the back nine where he missed the green and had a pretty unfavorable lie coming from the left side onto a right side green, and put the ball within 5 feet of the hole for like from a missed tee shot. Like he makes
Yeah.
mistakes and then just turns into a 5 foot birdie putt. So it's tough, but you know I'm one that enjoys watching this. I guess, right? I know it's
Yeah.
not enjoyable when it's my betting card on the other end, but in the pure fandom of the sport, like watching this level of dominance, and we talk about it all the time, but it makes like a storyline within the PJ itself. It's like, is Scotty going to win or not? So it's like devil's advocate on either side of it. You're either happy to see it happen or you like to see him fall. So in the grand scheme of things, it makes another aspect to the game that you know gets us going.
Yeah, another aspect that's going to get everyone into the game, and it's a good segue into this week, is that Brooks Koepka is back. I don't know if you saw the video of Billy Horschel greeting him on the driving range today, but it was a very warm welcome, and I'm pumped to see him tee it back up this week. So maybe we can get right into it here.
Yeah, Brooks Koepka the next 2 weeks, but beginning this week with the Farmers Insurance Open over at Torrey Pines, we have the Bapco Energy Bahrain Championship we'll talk about here as well. But yeah, before we do have any things, Jake, where can we find you on social media?
Yep, you can find me on X at JakeOOTR, where I post all my outright betting cards. So be sure to give me a follow. You could also join the Out of the Rough Discord, which is completely free with no hidden paywalls. We have a community of 250 plus members, ranging from golf fanatics to professional gamblers, and contribute. Everyone is contributing valuable insight that makes the Discord a really powerful resource to have at no cost. Nate runs a dedicated community wager tracker, which, by the way, we have now broken. He can no longer tag because we have so many people in there. So your name just gets put in there. You don't get tagged, but he compiles everyone's weekly picks into a nice organized list. It's a good way to see who the community is on week in and week out, and ultimately congratulate people who hit a winner, or we can jinx someone if no one's on them. Nate and I also share some exclusive content in the Discord. So I've got matchup plays, tournament and round matchups, and Nate shares his first round leader bets. Also, feel free to reach out to Nate or myself to get the link to join that. Also, be sure to check out ootrough.com for our weekly articles. Nate covers almost every tour, and I've got my PGA Tour articles on there. Also, Nate has shots gained putting by grass type on there, which is up to date. So, another completely free resource that you have at your fingertips to use week in and week out when you're making your betting cards or DFS lineups.
There we go. And you follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at NateOOTR. Segueing back to our website, we also have Andrew at All Tour Golf Bets on Twitter and or X, whatever you want to refer to it as. This guy's the most knowledgeable person on, I'd say, the interface when it comes to Hotel Planet Tour and Corn Ferry Tour, just general knowledge and betting along the way. This is the first week where he has both of those tours back in action, with the Hotel Planet Tour kicking its season off and the Corn Ferry Tour entering its third event. And today just happens that, well, at least the day of recording this happens to be his 1 year anniversary of being with us at Out of the Rough. So I guess happy anniversary to you, Andrew. But either way, love to have that guy on board. But yeah, on the website as well, you can find the Out of the Rough One and Done, a completely free game that you can play each and every week where you pick a different golfer. Prize money uses scoring for both the PGA Tour, DP World Tour. Never too late to hop in because all you have to do is hop in, hit one win, and you're back up into, the leaderboard. You don't have to play every single week to win this, and it's developed that way. But of course, playing every single week gives you an edge to get more dollars. But yeah, I think that's it, and we'll hop right into things. We mentioned already Torrey Pines, one of the most storied venues in golf within the United States, but it's this week's host, the Farmers Insurance Open. Remembering last year where we had two planes here, in a sense, the Genesis Invitational, typically at the Rivera Country Club, was rescheduled to the Wildflowers out in California. So we played Torrey Pines twice within a month period. I think it was like actually a 3 week, 4 week, somewhere around that range. But yeah, Torrey Pines, but with the North Course, or excuse me, the South Course. The North Course gets introduced here with this event as we play, again, another split field event or split course event for the first two rounds this week, the North and South at Torrey Pines. 54 hole cut this week, or 36 hole cut, excuse me, this week, where we go across the weekend with both rounds on the weekend at the South Course. So when we talk about South Course, that's the one you'll see when the U.S. Open's played there and when the Genesis was played there a season ago. But yeah, the field this week, Jake already talked about the drawing figure that is appearing this week in Brooks Koepka's first return since signing with Liv in 2022. So it's going to be a great storyline to follow him, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of camera time for Brooks this week. I don't think the cameras are going to take their lenses off of him once this entire week. But in terms of OWGR or World's Best, we have Xander Schauffele at number 4 leading the charge this week, making his 2026 debut. We have J.J. Spawn, Justin Rose, Harris English, Alex Noren, Hideki Matsuyama, Keegan Bradley, Chris Gotterup, Ludwig Oberg, Cameron Young, Maverick McNeely, and Aaron Rye as those ranked in the top 25 of the OWGR teamed up this week. Of course, this is the infamous place of Harris English's 2026 victory, or 2025 victory, excuse me, defending champion here as he held off the likes of Sam Stevens by a stroke a season ago. Some other former champions, we have Matthew Bavon in 24, Max Homa in 23, Luke List in 22, Rose in 19, Jason Tay in 2018, 2015, and Brent Snedeker in 16 and 12. So again, this is a two-course setup for the first 2 days. The South Course annually plays as one of the longest courses in the PGA Tour at a par 72 at roughly 7,785 yards. Being one of the most storied championship golf courses in the United States, Torrey Pines South offers a major-like feel to it. So those first, two tournaments we saw so far this season at Wale, and then, of course, at the American Express at PGA West across various courses, they're pretty much birdie fests, and we're getting to get ourselves a real look at some grinding out type of golf this week. I'm really excited about that. Off the tee, driving distance will be, of course, a factor with the length of this golf course, but, they're going to be swinging away to set that second shot, and then from there you have uh, a percentage of 200 plus yard approach shots onto the green because of the pure length of this golf course. It's not only a golf course that requires length. There are tight fairways, tree lined. Again, this is a place that hosts U.S. Open, so think of the most challenging golf in the world, and that's what you're getting this week. Obviously not to that standards because, the USGA and all of the US Open speculations, or not speculations, stipulations to have a golf course and all their crazy narrow fairways and long greens. But either way, it's a challenging golf course with POA greens as well. They're both firm and small. And then due to this, the South Course also features one of the lowest green regulation percentages of the PGA Tour annually. Golfers will be forced to work around the green due to the missed fairway or missed greens oftentimes. So an A game in the scrambling department will needed to hope to claim victory. The power greens are also some of the most difficult greens to putt on each season because it's simply a grass type that isn't featured too much sometimes over in California and whatnot. But you're not playing like a Bermuda or a bent grass where you're playing half the season, if not three-quarters of the season on. But Poa is difficult. The North Course is considerably more easy, 70 or par 72 at 7,258 yards. And essentially, it's very crucial for golfers to go out and have a great round at the North Course. Annually speaking, if you don't shoot in the 60s at the North Course, you've pretty much limited yourself from this golf tournament. So having a good round at the North Course is desperately needed. So since 2000, the winning score has reached minus 20 or better at this event just once with Justin Rose in 2019. And then the average winning score has been minus 14.08 dating back to 2000. And again, Harris English won here at minus 8 a season ago. Jake, anything to add here before I move forward?
No, I think you covered it. It's going to be a really challenging golf course, like you said, different from what we've seen to start the year. So get your bad putters lined up because they're not going to have to pour them in as much as you think.
There we go. All right, Jake, I know you got six. I got five here. So in the sense of fluidity on this podcast, I'll allow you to go first.
Yeah, so I'm going to start my card off here with Hideki Matsuyama at 33 to 1. He ranked ninth in my model this week, which was more than enough for me to take a shot on him at Torrey Pines, where he's produced some strong finishes throughout his career. He opened the season with the T13 at the Sony Open, which is another course he's played consistently well throughout his career. This is his second start of the season where he recorded six top 20 finishes and 14 career starts, so he is no stranger to Torrey Pines. He's a world-class iron player, which we talk about week in and week out. When he is dialed in, only Scotty Scheffler is probably better than him with those irons, especially long irons. So I really like him this week. He also carries an elite around the green game, which is going to be essential. Scrambling is going to be really important this week. He's not flashy off the tier with the putter, but his all-around ball striking in his short game just propel him to a different level. He has 12 PGA Tour victories. I think this is a really good chance for him to get his 13th this year on the 2026 season. So again, very small sample size. He's 31st in strokes gained total, 91st off the tee, 19th on approach, 17th around the green, and 126th in putting. Just all things put together, I thought 33 was a really big number on Hideki, who I think is the top tier talent in this field.
Yeah, Matsuyama was on my short list, and I opted for someone else to talk about here briefly. But you mentioned it; he does everything you need at challenging golf courses, and these are the type of events that he'll spike at. He is the type of a golfer that can do both the birdie fests and the challenging golf courses. Some golfers are only made for other ones, but excuse me, Hideki Matsuyama can do both. Once those irons are pure, there's no need for a putter, and beyond that, he's a capable putter. But his around the green magic that he can perform, like out of the sand especially, he is phenomenal there. But I opted for 2025 U.S. Open champion JJ Spawn at 33 to 1, and I talked about it in the course preview. This is a course that's hosted two U.S. Opens in his career, or in the last whatever 25-ish years, somewhere around there. But what do we know about JJ Spawn? He won a U.S. Open a season ago, and I just alluded this golf course to a U.S. Open challenging golf course. Last season on tour, JJ Spawn was fifth on approach, 16th in par fours, 35th in green relations. He's 40th in the strokes gained putting on POA, 54th scrambling, 62nd driving distance. The list goes on and on. Maybe not the best when it comes into long irons, 121 there, but again, this is a guy 33 to 1 who won a U.S. Open at this point. What, 6 months ago, 8 months
Yep.
ago, somewhere around there. So again, just a big number for a guy who I know can play grinded out golf with the best of them.
Yeah, 100%. I was deciding between Hideki and JJ Spawn, so Nate, looks like our models are pretty in line this week in that sense, and we just opted in different directions, but I'm glad that we have them both covered between the two of us. I don't have much to add there. I think Spawn is a really good option this week if you're deciding between, to go to the top of the board. But moving into my next play here, it's Ryan Gerard at 52 to 1. You could thank DraftKings for that ridiculous number.
Yeah,
Um,
what was with DraftKings numbers this week? They're like 29, 51, 43. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, they got granular with us this week, Nate. Usually they round them up to the nearest fives or down. So it seems like in this case it would have been a Gerard 50 to 1. So I mean I'll take the extra 2 points in that case. But he's been the hottest golfer in the field, I mean, by far. I think this is his third runner-up finish in a row. Um, the Afro-Asia Mauritius Open, he finished runner-up on the DP World Tour, and then back-to-back runner-ups to start the PGA Tour season at the Sony Open in Hawaii and the American Express. I think that this is a much better suited golf course for Gerard than those two on the PGA Tour. He does not strike me as a birdie fest guy. He's more of a guy who is he does not have a strong putter. There's no shying away from that. And I think that on a grinded out kind of course, that leads to more success with someone who has a worse putter. Um, but anyway, he's very solid off the tee. He ranks around tour average in distance, and he's above tour average in accuracy. He brings a very strong approach game and a reliable short game around the greens. So again, it's going to come down to the flat stick, and he doesn't need to pour in a ton of putts here to win. So on the 2026 season, again, small sample size, eighth in strokes gained total, 36 off the tee, 40th on approach, 23rd around the green, and 32nd putting. So it looks like that flat stick is starting to heat up for him at the beginning of the year. I think that he gets over the finish line this week. He's definitely going to be the most tipped if I had to take a guess. But 52 to 1 is where I got him at, and I'm comfortable firing him up this week.
Yeah, he's been a runner-up in three straight events. What else is to say? The form could not be better than anyone that hasn't won so far. It'd be crazy to be a four-time back-to-back-to-back-to-back runner-up. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's ever happened, but he has a chance to do it this week. But no, it's a big number for a guy who is in some of the best form in the entire world of golf. So can't doubt you there. In that price range, I'm opting for Jake Knapp here, and he has some decent course history over the past two seasons. He placed T17th here a season ago at the Genesis Invitational and placed 32nd here at this event itself. He also placed third at this event in 2024. He teed up the Sony Open Hawaii so far this season, placing T11, and he finished last season fourth on tour in par 5, 16th in both average driving distance and par 4s, 39th in scrambling, 44th in proximate hole from 200 plus, 79th in green relations. Not a lights out putter by any means, but he can get it done. 92nd in strokes gained putting POA, 104th on approach. And this is the type of guy that just kind of, what do you can say about Jake Knapp? He just kind of shows up. He just kind of out of 1 week, he's just there competing for a victory. And I think he has the game for these grinded out type of golf courses that we've seen in years past with some decent course history at this event. And 45 to 1 had some meat in the bone, so that's where I went.
Yeah, this is a guy, he's definitely a higher class Davis Riley in my head, where sometimes it doesn't make sense, but he just shows up at certain points throughout the year. And like you said, the course history is there for him, and it would not surprise me at all if he shows up again this week. He's that bomber putter build where he just needs the irons to flash for him for to have some success. But again, I my next play here, I stayed in that 50 to 1 range with Will Zalatoris at 57 to 1. Again, shout out to DraftKings for that weird number. Should come as no surprise if you've listened to the podcast before. I'm a big Will Zalatoris fan. He's voiced that he's finally healthy. And he proved that to me last week with a great finish. He didn't show up in my model, right? He didn't have enough qualified rounds for what I had put in there. So this is definitely more of a gut play than a model play. So take that as you will. But he's coming off of a T18 finish last week where he started his PGA Tour season at the American Express. I fully anticipate Zalatoris building off of that, where he comes to a venue that he's very comfortable at and he's played well at. Let's just address the elephant in the room. He's a horrible putter. He is a horrendous putter. But like I said before, I'm firing up these guys who are notoriously bad putters at these grinded out type of tournaments. I'm never going to take Will Zalatoris at a birdie fest.
No.
He's not going to be able to make enough putts to win. And thankfully, this is a week where you don't need to be able to pour it in to win necessarily. So I'm relying on his great off the tee game, his elite approach game, and I'm just hoping that he can make enough putts to contend and hopefully win. In 5 career starts at this event, he has 3 top 15 finishes. And on the season so far, he's third in strokes gained total, 16th off the tee, 28th on approach, 37th around the green, and 23rd putting. Obviously, only one tournament played, so the putting numbers skewed there. But again, he's one of my favorite golfers. He showed enough signs of life for me in week one that I'm happy to fire him up at this number in week two for him.
Yeah, it'd be completely different if he came out last week and missed the cut or didn't perform well, and then you're still going back to him with those 50 numbers. Like he looked like he could hang, right? He looked like a golfer that's healthy, and that's all we can hope for to Will Zalatoris because I think we're all kind of fans of him in a way that we hope he gets healthy and compete again because he's a premier talent in the PGA Tour when he gets rolling, and just got to keep that back upright. All right, so I have two guys in this next price range, and that's Pierce and Cootie first off at 66 to 1. And, I talked about it last week when you played Cootie at the American Express. I'm a fan of this guy's game, and I think he plays this type of golf course extremely well. And at least at the eye test, right? He has played some events here, three times prior, missing the cut in all of them, 25 and 24 at this event, as well as the U.S. Open in 2021. But again, that U.S. Open in 2021, he was probably a teenager, maybe 20 at that point. So kind of throw out the window. He's a much better golfer than he was even a year ago at this point. He's played in two events to start this season: T18 last week at the American Express, T13 at the Sony Open Hawaii. Finished last season. This stat always blows my mind. I know you talked about last week, Jake. First on tour and par five average scoring of the entire PGA Tour season ago. Fourth in greens and regulation and par four. So he's a top five par four and this best par five scorer on the PGA Tour, at least last season, excuse me. 26th in driving distance, 20th in proximity for 200 plus. So he's long off the tee, plus has great long irons. 43rd on scrambling. The concern now we get down here to 144th in strokes gained putting POA. Again, it's a small sample size when it comes to POA because they just don't play a ton of events on it. So you're getting yourself maybe 8 to 10 rounds a season uh, on that POA. So if you haven't played many rounds, it's going to skew that number. But either way, I think Pearson Coody plays the type of golf to compete this type of golf events. I know that he can get it done with some birdie fests because he did it on the Corn Ferry Tour with a lot of them. This is a guy who hits the ball a mile, has great long irons, scrambles somewhat well, decent irons, nothing to write home about. Just if he gets a few putts to fall in his favor, I can see him competing this week at 6-1.
Yeah, Nate, in this range, he was the first one off my card, and he was someone who I had circled going into this week. I wanted to play him badly. I went with someone else in this price range here, but again, I played him last week. He had a very solid finish last week, and I think that he can carry that over into this week. He brings a great style of game for Torrey Pines. So again, a little surprised by those three missed cuts at this venue, but again, like you said, he was probably super young when he first teed it up here. So it's one of those that he's gotten some laps under his belt. He's ready to rock, and I could see him having a great week. But in this price range, I opted for Max Homa at 60 to 1, and I was between him and Cootie. The only reason I took it was because of the course history. That was my differentiator. Again, everyone, you have to talk yourself into and out of players, right? They
Yep.
talked himself into Cootie. I talked myself into Homa. Um, but anyway, Homa plays his best golf in California. It's his favorite spot. It's where he grew up. Again, he's also one of my favorite golfers, so it should come as no surprise that he's on my card. He ranked eighth in my model too, which is great. He struggled for a lot of 2025. I know we've covered that at nauseum at this point, but he closed out the season on a really good stretch of form and really competed during the fall swing. He had a really good finish with a T27 at the American Express last week. He gained strokes across the board, primarily in all of the primary categories, which is important. Again, he has three top 20 finishes, including, or sorry, three top 20 finishes at Torrey Pines, and he also has a win in 2023 at this event. He's a super well-rounded golfer. We know that he can get, super hot with the flat stick and has a strong approach game. So again, I just went with Homa. It's more of a he popped in my model, and the signs are just pointing in his direction for me. He's sixth in strokes gained total, 26 off the tee, 12th on approach, 109th around the green, and 21st putting on the 2026 season. So again, 60 to 1, I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah, this is a guy who won at this golf course within the last two planes of the event right back in 2023. No, three planes. Either way, he won recently. He is from the area, has played a lot of golf in the area, and it shows out well that back nine on that 2023 event was one to watch. It was a fun time. But yeah, I mean, he shows life. He's getting better each and every week, and it's just a matter of time before that, well, crosses that finish line. And if there was a strokes game per California, I feel like Max Homa would be one of the top five guys, him and Colin Morikawa maybe.
Yeah, and add Cantlay in there.
There
And
you go.
Maverick McNeely. There we go. We got a top four quick
Look at that. Rattle that right off. We know our strokes gain data per
for
California
California.
start. All right, staying in that price range for myself, I'm going with one of my favorite guys, Nikolai Hojgaard at 66 to 1. And, it wasn't that long ago that he placed T second at this event. If I believe I am not, yes. Wait, yes, he placed T second
Yes,
here. Yes,
2024.
2024. He didn't play here last year. That was what threw me off. But he's fresh off the T fourth at last week's Hero Dubai Desert Classic on the DP World Tour, a Rolex Series flagship event for them over there with a lot of big names. So great performance there. Also T52nd the Dubai Invitational a week prior. I mentioned it, T2 here in 2024. Finished last season third on tour in distance, fifth in par fives. He was 11th in approach, 16th approximate hole from 200 plus, 20th in grid relations, 49th in searching putting POA. It just then the around the green game is what really lets him down. 162 in scrambling, 166 in hit fairways, and 166 in around the green. So he gets pretty errant once in a while, and that does pay dividends for him in the PGA Tour. I think back in the DP World Tour, he's able to save himself enough for just pure talent and kind of outmuscle the problems. Those kind of can't be done on the PGA Tour, but this is a guy who crushes a golf ball, has some good irons, and has a decent putter when it comes to POA. Really excited about him at 66 to 1 this week.
Yeah, both Hoygaards were on my short list, and I couldn't get to them. I need some more success on U.S. soil for the two of them, but I totally understand the route, right? Like they have the perfect game to succeed at Torrey Pines. They've got the bomber iron putter build that is just a recipe for success here. I can't fault you for going with Nikolai. I really like the play. I just need to see a little bit more success on U.S. soil to get there. But again, this is a perfect breakthrough spot for both of them. So I totally understand the route there. My next play here is Garrick Higo at 75 to 1. He
Yep.
ranked third in my model, and I was like, I guess I'm firing up at whatever number he comes in at. So I was pretty happy with 75 to 1. And we had, I think I must have like blocked this out of my memory, but he had such a strong swing season that I was baffled when I re-looked at it. He recorded four top 10 finishes on the PGA Tour and capped it off with a T16 at the Nedbank Golf Challenge during the swing season. So again, the course history here isn't particularly strong in four previous appearances. Um, but again, he's a bomber off the tee with an excellent putter. His driving accuracy can be an issue at time, but the fairways are pretty narrow. So I think a lot of people are going to be playing from the rough. I think his distance is going to help
Yeah.
him. And there's a greater emphasis on iron play, which he's been rather solid at. So again, just popped in my model. I'm trusting it here. He's 22nd in strokes gained total on the 2025 season for him. 75th off the tee, 126 on approach, 59th around the green, and six putting. So he's got that bomber putter build. I just need those irons to stay hot and maybe build off of that swing season and get another victory here for him.
Yeah, he had a great season. The fall when you mentioned he had a victory last season and took it was the fall season, excuse me, where he took Stephen Fisk late and gave us the old hush on the whatever green that was with no one around and wanted to lose the event. But either way, he's been scorching hot this entire year, rolling into the start of the season and popped to my model too. I just opted elsewhere. All right, so my long shot this week is Sammy Valimaki at 175 to 1. Just a massive number for a guy who if I'm looking on a score or a leaderboard on Sunday and I'm going through, I'm like Scheffler and blah 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 blah. And I roll past Valimaki. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. It's not one of those names like, holy crap, Valimaki's up here, and that's what you're getting at 175, right? He won in the fall series at the RSM Classic. Jake and I are both on him there. The win made him Finland's first ever winner of the PGA Tour, which we love to see. But anyways, 15th year a season ago, 43rd in 2024. He has played once so far this season, missing a cut of the American Express, so be it. He finished last season sixth on tour in strokes and putting on POA, so a really good POA putter. 18th on approach, 27th in par fours, 47th approximate hole for 100 or 200 plus yards, and green regulations. 69th in par fives. We down. He's just short off the tee, 152nd average driving distance. But we talked about it. There's going to be guys who are going to miss the green or miss the fairways, scramble their butts off all week to get themselves up there because they're ripping off the tee. Then you're going to find the guys who are laying up, finding the fairways and approaching that way. Guess what? You can do both those things a different way and have the same result. And we see it time and time again. We talk about this all the time. These golf courses that have these stats, these rules we must follow to find our golfers. And then someone, the complete opposite, goes on and wins, right? It's not a pure science. It benefits, but either way, Sammy Falmaki's a guy that, again, I'm not surprised to see him on the leaderboard on Sundays at 175 to 1. It's worth a chance.
Yeah, Nate, I love the call here. He was crushed with the irons last week. He lost roughly 4 strokes per round with the irons, and that is not characteristic of Sami Valimaki. He's a very solid iron player. He gained a ton with the putter. He almost made the cut just on short game alone. So again, if he could bounce back from last week's poor iron play and get it to where he's used to, I think it's a great shout at 175 to 1. Moving into my long shot, I got Carl Phillips at 600 to 1. I think that was just a ridiculous number on a guy who already has a PGA Tour victory. He ranked 97th in my model. So again, not a model play here, but he played well enough last week at the American Express to catch my attention. He had a T18 there. I was impressed with how his game looked across the board, honestly. His off the tee game and his approach game were excellent. He even picked up game strokes with the putter. So I'm not going to dive like too much into the details here. He's 600 to 1, but again, just a strong finish last week. He's 24 years old. He already has a win on the PGA Tour at 600 to 1. It was just a shot, and maybe I can get lucky.
Yeah, when you get to 601, I don't think you need to debate much or try to prove a point, right? Like, if it goes on to happen, you're a genius. If it doesn't, who cares, right? No one's going to bat an eye, and be like, oh, you touted Carl Phillips last week and he's done. It doesn't matter, right? 601, you can give me, oh, he went to high school 37 miles away from here. Like, oh, good point. 601, that's a good number, right?
Yep.
It's where we're at with that type of number. So either way, it just happens to be a guy who's won on the PGA Tour. Uh, Although an alt field event, but either way, he did win the PGA Tour. They all count the same.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for the Farmers Insurance Open over at Torrey Pines for the PGA Tour. We'll move into the DP World Tour this week. At the Bapco Energies Bahrain Championship. Got it first time. There was a name we're going to talk about, Jake, here in a bit that I might have to have you pronounce, or we can try to
Oh
work it out
man.
together because it's not going to work out for us. But either way, this is the third playing of this event at the Royal Golf Club in Bahrain. Prior to the 2024 playing this event, it has been 13 years since the DP World Tour had played in Bahrain or Bahrain. This week marks the third consecutive week in the Middle East. We'll play once more next week at the Qatar Masters before heading to Africa. Excuse me, I don't know why I blanked there. I was thinking Kenya. It is Kenya, but we're in Africa, is what I meant to say. So we're inching closer to like true DP World Tour fields. We start the season, you have the PGA Tour stars here, and they all kind of fizzle out as we head getting closer to the first signature event over on stateside. And the live guys are kind of lingering about, a few of them still, and one of them, of course, Patrick Reed, teeing it back up in this week's field. And then you have, the likes of Sergio Garcia and new live golf signing Thomas Dietrich kind of headline this field. Then you're going to get some legends, the golfing legends of Patrick Harrington's team up this week, and two-time winner so far this season, Jaden Schapper, kind of leads the chart for DP World Tour. But what I'm getting at here is like we're almost to the point we're going to have true DP World Tour. The fields we're going to see for the heart of 6 months of the season before the PGA Tour players return back. With we talked about Jaden Schapper leading the way there. You have the Nacho Alviras, the Danny Hillier, Sean Norris, Dan Bradbear, Wenyi Ding, Eugene Shakara, Julian Guerre, Angel O'Wara, among others. And of course, Laurie Cantor, the defending champion, coming in this week, held off the likes of Dan Brown and Pablo Larrazbal in a playoff a season ago. Dylan Fratelli won this inaugural play in 2024. And this week's host will be the Montgomery course at Royal Golf Club Kingsburn of Bahrain, or Kingdom of Bahrain, excuse me, as it has been for the last 3 seasons. A par 72 is 7,291 yards. And again, although this is the second play in of the third play of the Bahrain Championship, this course is used for the inaugural edition of the now defunct Volvo Golf Champions event in 2011. That event was won by Paul Casey. Speaking of Montgomery, he is the designer of this golf course. When I say speaking of Montgomery, it's because there was a quote of uh, Paul Casey won here in 2011, infamously after Captain Colin Montgomery left him off the Ryder Cup team, and then we transitioned here to Montgomery, helped design this golf course. It is carved out of the desert and features several water hazards, plenty of bunkers, and generous fairways. It is designed and constructed to provide a link-style golf experience in the desert, with fast-running fairways and often approaches into the huge, firm greens, which are dramatically contoured. And pretty much this is your standard desert track at this point, right? All of these kind of run together, kind of mold together, and feel exactly the same. The final 3 holes, though, can offer some dramatics down the stretch. The last 3 holes, each ranked within the 8 hardest holes on the golf course this season ago. Again, without any desert track, the wind will have a major play in how this golf course is played in attacks. We could see, upwards of minus 20, 24. We could see -8, depending on what the wind does this week. But either way, Jake, anything to add before we move forward?
No, I think you covered it.
All right, once again, now you have 6 and I have 5, Jake. So for the sake of this flowing correctly, I'll let it go first once again.
Yep. So my first play here is going to be Wenyi Ding, but I need to give an honorable shout out. I almost did the Daniel Hillier and then maybe like one or two long shot route. But again, I just couldn't fathom going to someone under 20 to 1 on this tour. So I went with some medium to long shots here. So I'm leading my card off here with Wenyi Ding. He is just an extremely well-rounded golfer. And again, I do I do think that it is important to have an area of the game that like you're a beast at and that you just are elite at. And Wenyi Ding doesn't necessarily have that. But again, with inclement conditions potentially, with the winds, I think that having an all-round game is more important on a week like this. So I went with him at 33 to 1. Coming in on some decent form, he had a T19 at the Hero Dubai Desert Classic, had some solid starts in Australia to start the year, finished T55 at this event last year, so he made the cut, but I think he's just, I think he's a very talented golfer um, with a big number next to his name. On the 2026 season, he's 36th in driving accuracy, 82nd in driving distance, 48th in greens and regulation, 5th in putts per green in regulation, 15th in stroke average, 20th in average putts per round. So again, just nothing flashy, but just an all-around guy I think has some good value at 33 to 1.
Yeah, and he's a pretty strong putter as well. If there were to be like a stronger part of his game, in my opinion. But again, you mentioned it. We talk about it all the time. It's trying to find a guy that's really good at something and okay at the rest of stuff. What if you're just okay at everything and not bad at something? And that may be the formula for success here. I mean, Laurie Cantor won here a season ago. That's one of the most exciting golfers there is in the world of golf. So I don't think we need anything super flashy to get a win here in Bahrain.
Yep.
All right, so I'm kicking my card off here with Thomas Dietrich at 20 to 1. We're almost the 1 year anniversary. I think we are this weekend of him winning his first PGA Tour win at the WM Phoenix Open in dramatic fashion. And now we come down here to him signing with Live Golf, the new signee there. Either way, last chances to grab some valuable OWGR points before heading to Live in what is it, 2 weeks' time at this point, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyways, so far this season, he placed 14th at the Hero Dubai Desert Classic, 6th at the Nedbank Golf Challenge, so some good performances there. On the season, he is third on tour in sand saves, ninth in bogey avoidance, 10th in average driving distance, 17th in tee to green and putting, 26th in par fours, 34th in birdie or better, and 39th on approach. Just a guy that, in terms of pure talent on this field, I think there are far and few better than him. And 20 to 1, there's still a lot of people below that number. So I took my chance here with Thomas Dietrich.
Yeah, I like the call there. I think that he's super talented. I was on him last week, and I really like the call. There's not much to add there, Nate. I'm gonna hop over a play here because I know that our next guy, I believe, is a crossover. So I'm gonna go with Henny Duplessis at 60 to 1. Again, I just think that he's playing some solid golf. I thought that 60 was a pretty big number. He had a T19 at the Dubai Desert Classic and then a T25 at the Bank of Mauritius Open, which was obviously a couple weeks before that. But he's looked like he was gaining with the putter, and he just is very solid off the tee, which is going to be really important this week. Both long and accurate off the tee. The approach game is also very, very good. So it's going to come down to the putter for him. He's 29 years old. He's going to be fighting to get that victory here. Just some stats for you guys: 59th in stroke average, 66th in average putts per round, 58th in putts per green in regulation, 42nd in greens in regulation, 60th in driving distance. Again, so just a solid player. I think that he's pretty elite when it comes to off the tee and with the irons. So it'll come down to the flat stick for him. And I think 60 to 1 is a big enough number to take a shot on.
Yeah, Honey Duplessis. I have a weird thing. There was one of my early podcasts, and I forget who I was with. We were doing DP World Tour. He's like, I have no clue about DP World Tour. I'm like, just pick some guys and look some stats quick. And then he threw Henny Duplessis out there, and I think he had like a T2 or T3 that week, and he was going off because he just picked a name out of a hat essentially and threw it out there. So that's my little story about Henny Duplessis. But no, love to play there. Every time I see him pop up, that little story just runs in my mind. So that's why I spoke about it again. But my next play here, Julian Guerre at 35 to 1, and I simply can't take my finger off the pulse of this guy. And I think it's for good reason. He placed third last week at the Here Dubai, third the week prior to the Dubai Invitational, missed the cut the Alfred Dunhill, but also placed sixth at the Nedbank Golf Challenge. Currently 21st, or placed 21st at this event a season ago and T8th in 2024. So far this season, 14th in bogey avoidance, 16th in par fours, 19th in putty, 25th tee to green and approach, 27th in distance, 30th in birdie or better, and 44th in sand saves. Again, just a guy I've been on each of the last 2 weeks with a T3 finish, so I'm hoping to finally break through, give him another victory, because last season when he did win, I missed out on it. I don't want to do that again. But 35 to 1 for a guy who has back-to-back T3s with another top six on the season and 4 events he's played. He's played 4 events, T6 or better in 3 of them. I got to keep going if he has, numbers in the 35s.
Yep, I'm right there with you. He was my first click this morning. Not much to add. He's just in some phenomenal form, cannot be ignored. Kind of felt like my card could have been him and Hillier and just call it a day, but I
Hmm.
opted for a different route here. But I'm glad to at least have one of them on the card. I think that Laurie Cantor came in with some similar form to this event last year, so I'm excited to play Urier this week and hope that he can kind of follow Cantor's footsteps and get a win here.
There we go.
My next play here is going to be Xander Lombard. I
Yep.
believe I got him at 92 to 1. So again, you could tell when I'm using DraftKings now, they're getting shameless plugs. Maybe that's why they're doing it, Nate,
Maybe that's
because
it.
there's no hiding from the book now when they put a stupid number like that out. Anyway, on the 2026 season, he's had some very solid numbers. Fourth in putts per green in regulation, third in putts per round, 23rd in sand saves, 24th in stroke average. So that definitely caught my attention here. Has some also good starts this season, right? Dubai Desert Classic, a T26, a T5 at the Mauritius Open. He played this tournament in 2024 where he finished runner-up. So getting almost 100 to 1 on a guy like that just felt like an easy click for me.
Yeah, I went back and forth on Lombard and a few of my picks for all forever this morning until I finally settled on who I went with. We'll talk about later. But love the play. I was on him for that T2 back in 2024, so I understand how you feel there. But just a guy who also plays great desert golf, excuse me. And I think at this point you can kind of see the correlation between South Africa and the type of golf we're going to play here at Bahrain because we're talking about South Africans left and right so far. I think we've each mentioned at least one. So yeah, Lombard just a guy that first name off my list. I went round and round circles with these guys and just didn't get there with them. All right, so my next play here is Jorge Campillo at 55 to 1. Placed T13 here a season ago, missed the cut in 2024, fresh off a T19 last week at the Hero Dubai, also 23 at the Alfred Dunhill and 23 at the Nedbanks Golf Challenge. On the season, he is currently fifth on tour in approach, 20th in distance, 31st in tee to green, 34th in bogey avoidance, 34th in putting, 46th in putting, excuse me, 53rd in birdie or better, 66th in par fours, and 70th in sand saves. Again, this is a guy who kind of just does everything well. Really good with the approach play, but everything else is kind of just okay. And again, I'm just going off the backs that Laurie Cantor came in here and won this event a season ago, so I don't think you need in a crazy flashy game to win here. I think consistency and average kind of can keep you churning and get the wheels rolling. I think Corey Campillo at this point in his career definitely fits in that boring mold.
Yeah, I like the shout. He's not a guy that I initially thought of, but looking into the numbers here, Nate, I think it's a really good call. It'll come down to the flat stick for him. He's got to be able to pour in some putts here to win, and he's proven that he could spike with that putter. So I think it's a good call. I'm going to go into my second to last play here, so that way you get to say the fun name for us because we're on some overlap. But I'm going with Yanhan Zhu. So. I did not know much about this guy, hand up, but I dug through each player profile this morning, and he played last year on the China Tour. And holy crap, did this guy just win left and right? Like, if you pull up his page, it looks very similar to a Scotty Chef, where I think he won 12 times in last
Jeez.
season on the China Tour. That's good enough for me to just blind bet you and see how you stack up to a field here. I don't have much else to add, right? I don't have the strokes gain data on him. But again, he had a lot of success on this tour. He's coming over to the DP World Tour this week at 175 to 1. I'm happy to put a few bucks on you and let's see how you do, kid.
Yeah, he knows how to win. If you're winning 12 times at any professional tour, I think there's something right to going with you. So I'm not going to act like I know a ton about him either. I don't follow the Chinese tour that closely to know much about him. But either way, a lot of victories in a short period of time. We'll see what translates.
Only 17 years old, too. Very young.
Very cool. Very cool as well. All right, I have two plays left. I'm going with Daniel Van Tonder at 131 for my first play here. He is currently third on tour in tee to green and sand saves, fifth in birdie or better, ninth on approach. So we have what four top 10 stats there: 20th in bogey avoidance, 30th in par fours, 53rd in distance, and 88th in distance. Excuse me, I messed that up somewhere along the way. He last played the AF Asia Bank Marathon Open where he placed 15th, part of that at 14th at the Alfred Dunhill and a 10th at the Nedbank Golf Challenge. Great results there. I would have liked to have seen one in the desert to see how he kind of fares there because he is a pro motif from the Hotel Planet Tour. But again, we're talking about South Africans. Something about this golf course kind of draws us to South Africans, and we've seen some success there in the past. So I think Danny Van Tonder, who, not a young name by any matter, he's been on the Hotel Planet Tour, he's been on the DP World Tour multiple times, but has got it done in both levels. So I think he can come through here at 130 to 1 and compete for victory this week.
Yeah, he was one of the first off my card this week, Nate. I had to make some cuts, and like you said, that was the only reason I cut him was because he didn't tee it
Yep.
up in the desert. But everything else points in that correct direction. Getting off the tee rather well, has some good finishes in that December swing that he played. So would not surprise me at all for him to have a good week this week.
All right. So is this our final play here?
Our final play, Nate, I tailed you on it, but do you want me to try to rip this name here?
So I hit this guy at the what are the Farm Foods Irish Challenge last year in the Hotel Planner Tour when Andrew was on vacation, left me high and dry, and I was just like, all right, we're going with this guy, and he ended up winning on a single bullet. Let's see, Ohan, I think is the first name. I think it's pretty safe in that. But from there, you have all right, Gyul
Yo, a
Aman
Muda guy?
Ulamula guy. I mean, I don't get much Hotel Planet Tour coverage to really understand how to say these guys' names before they come to the DP World Tour or PJ Tour. But yeah, 150 to 1. So, I mean, this is arguably the Hotel Planet Tour advancer that I was most excited about, not only because of the name, I wanted to figure out how to actually say that, and watching, a commentation of the event where they actually have to say it, I want to know. But beyond that, last played the Marauders Open as well, where he placed ninth, part of that, a 46th, the Alfred Dunhill. He's currently first on tour in par fours, second in birdie or better, ninth in sand saves, 22nd in distance, 30th in tee to green, 33rd in putting, 30th in bogey avoidance, and 90th in approach. Again, making his tournament debut this week as a promotee for the Hotel Planet Tour. But again, he won for me on the Hotel Planet Tour. And, you know, I think there is I say this so much, Jake, there is a direct correlation between links golf and desert golf. He won on the Links Irish Challenge type course a season ago, and he hits the ball far. So we'll see what happens there. That's basically it, 150 to 1.
Yeah, similar logic that I used, Nate. I saw that you tipped him, and I took a look at him, and I was like, you know what? I went with this other guy who just he's coming from another tour, played some good golf. Let's see how you stack up at a big number. And I felt like I was comfortable doing the same thing here, right? Coming from probably a more elite tour than the China tour. But anyway, he destroyed that tour, right? A ton
Yeah,
of top 10 finishes. He had that win at that Irish Challenge, and he had a good couple starts here to start in his DP World Tour career here. So again, happy to see how he stacks up this week. Maybe he could build off of that T9 at the Merchants Open and get it done for us this week.
we can hope so, that big of a number.
Yeah.
All right, Jake. Well, that's it for this week's podcast. We head next week to the WM Phoenix Open for the most attended, I think, it's sporting event in the entire world each year, just in pure volume of numbers across all 4 days. WM Phoenix Open, one of the, I don't know, this kind of feels like the official start of the season in a way, right, Jake? I know we have the Hawaiian events and these two stops in California, but like once we get the WM, because then we have Pebble Beach, then we have the Genesis, and we're just WM is like you get a lot of big names too. It's not just
Yeah.
the Farmers Insurance where Xander shows up, where they're all going to be there for the most part. The WM that we're going to go into our signature events, but it's a fun one, always will be. And then on the DP World Tour, we finish off our quest in the desert with the Qatar Masters, where I've hit the win of the last 2 seasons. We're trying to make it three in a row, so wait for that next week. But before we hop off here, Jake, where can we find you on social media?
Yep, you can follow me on X at JakeOOTR, where I share all my outright betting cards. I'd also encourage everyone to join the Out of the Rough Discord, 100% free with no hidden paywalls. There's a community of 250 plus members, and it's an excellent free resource to have at your disposal. Just reach out to Nate or myself, and we will get you the link to join that.
Simple enough. Be sure to follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at WKFNate. Be sure to follow Out of the Rough on all forms of social media. Just search us up and find us there. Check out our website, ootrough.com. Until next time, guys, we'll see you.